Okay, so we're done with the masonry work, or the stucco on the top half of this house. So hopefully you can see what we've got there is a nice tan color. Left a little bit of the rusty brown around the edges. Gave it a wash, a watered down dark brown, kind of as an ink that settled in the crevices and brought some of the details out a little bit in the this masonry work. The next thing we're going to talk about or do is some base coats and some highlights in a couple of areas. We've got some wooden timbers that separate the two sections of the house, the two floors, alright, that run horizontally, if you remember from the making of tutorial. We're going to paint those a dark brown and give them a highlight of a medium brown and then a highlight of a tan, alright, to give them their wood color. We need to do the same procedure around the window frames. When we're done with the window frames, we need to just paint a simple dark black, or just a black in the holes where the window is. So we're going to do the base coating and the highlighting of the wood bits, which again are all the horizontal pieces in the window frames in the front and the back. Then we're going to do all the metal parts that aren't particularly rusted. So I'm thinking I want to do the garage door in kind of a steel or almost a pig iron color, darker than pig iron, more like a dark steel. Same thing with this wheel. I want these to be pieces that are better maintained. They wouldn't be all rusty. These are important things. Maybe they've been replaced along the way. I'm also going to do the sign, alright, the hanging gear sign in that dark steel. We're going to highlight some of those later with some lighter metal colors, but we need to start with the darker steel. Also going to do the same thing with the pipes for the smokestacks, except I'm going to leave the top dome on our curvy piece of smokestack rusty, and the rim that we added, the reinforcing frame or rim around that the tall smokestack, we're going to leave that rusty as well. But the main pipes we're going to do steel, and again the gear sign we're going to do steel. The garage door, not the frame around it, but just the garage door, we're going to do steel, as well as the wheel. All right, so we're going to do our wood and steel, and then we'll get to the fun part at the end, which is all the rusty bits. All right, so let me go on to that, and then I'll show you the where things stand in just a second. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the metal bits painted on this, the garage door, the wheel, the hanging sign, also the smokestacks. Painted kind of I started with a dark steel, highlighted them with pig iron, and stopped there. Although I did add kind of a watered down rusty mix to these to give them a little bit of rust on them, a little bit of wear. I don't know to what extent that's visible, okay, on there, but yeah. So that's basically what I did. The wood, dark brown, or kind of something between a medium and a dark brown. And then I did a medium brown highlight, and then I did a tan highlight on the wood bits. And then of course I did black inside the windows. Okay, so this is basically for the very last stage of painting, which is a fun stage. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all of the rest of the metal bits on this, the rusty bits, the vertical framing we did with the rivets, the awning, the roof tiling, some of the reinforcements, and the dome on the chimney, and all that's going to get kind of an oxidized greenish blue color, which I really like. So basically what I did is I made my own mix of this stuff that I've used before. And it's really halfway between kind of a slate grayish blue and an ivy green. So basically take a couple of simple colors, kind of a slate blue and again more or less a mossy or an ivy green, and you mix these together in equal parts, and then what you get is something that that looks like this. Alright, so this color, let me get a little light on that. Alright, so you get something that looks like this color here. Alright, so you're going to use that, excuse me, you're going to use that to paint over all these areas. Now you want a little bit of the rust to show through, so what you want to do is kind of stipple it on. Okay, so I'm going to take my mix, which I've already put together. I'm going to get in front of the camera here so I get a light on my project for you. Alright, then I'm going to, I'm not really going to dry brush. I'm going to take a little bit off the brush. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get a little bit less on there. Kind of get a nice coating on this frame. but have it look kind of irregular. Alright, so I want this to become the dominant color, but I want some of the rusty brown to show up underneath. Remember, we want to stay off the brick. Alright, so we're going to end up with something that looks kind of like that. We're going to do the awning in a similar fashion. As far as the roof, okay, I'm going to have you kind of go up from low to high on the roof. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us this oxidized metal roof, okay? But and the rivets are really going to pop now, which will be cool. All right, but what's going to happen is as we go up, I need to get some more paint on my brush. As we go up, okay, what's going to happen is we're going to have in the recesses where the shingles overlap with one another, we're going to have that rust-like color still showing through. All right, so what we're going to get is this effect where the oxidation happens more where the water pools and where these shingles kind of overhang. There's a little bit less of that action going on. All right, so that's kind of the effect we're going to get there on the roof. All right, so I'm going to continue doing all my remaining metal parts, all my rusty parts in this oxidized blue, and then I'll show you what that looks like, and it'll basically be done. All right, and we'll look at the final piece. So just hang on for 1 second, and I'll do that right now. Okay, so here you can see the completed Warjack Repair Shop, Dirty Meg out front, ready for customers. Anyway, you can see we've got the completed kind of oxidized metal roofing and framing on the sides, as well as the awning. And so what I did do, I want to mention, is I went back over that stucco, the masonry top half of the building, the stucco, with a very light tan dry brush, just to bring back out the details and lighten it up a little bit. And so you can see, again, we've got all the elements here: the oxidized metal frames, the timber frame, the cobblestone, the stucco, the shingled roof that we worked on. Okay, get a little zoom in on the chimney there, on the smokestacks. Okay, you see what that looks like. Okay, and of course, just one last look at those fun little details we added with those sprocket gears set. We got the entry wheel there for the doorway, and you can see what that looks like. We've got the metal gear, and I've applied a fair amount of let me get back there a little bit, a fair amount of rust to those chains too. All right, so that is the Warjack Repair Shop painting tutorial. This is Garrison, Firing Kingdoms at War. I am signing off. Hope you enjoyed the project, and happy wargaming, everybody.